Andy, you guys have been causing a lot of disruption all season, but going back to the Pac-12 championship game, to have 6 against that offensive line that had not allowed that kind of number in a long, long time, and KT specifically, he had set the mark of 10 for himself for the season. He's now 1 away. Can you speak of just your unit as a whole and him specifically in that pursuit of pass rush that you've been able to excel at?
Yeah, I mean, going back to the championship game, not only KT, but a bunch of guys up front were able to be disruptive in the pass game, but obviously to get to that point, we got to do a great job in the run game to create those opportunities for ourselves. And it comes down to, as always, preparation. And the better we do, the better we're going to perform. And we had a really good week of prep, even as it was a short week going into the championship game, and it paid off. Guys were really detailed with their prep and individual and in a group in the group settings and working on the pass rush and the certain games and the things we were doing. So hopefully, as we jump into bowl practice here and we get focused on our next opponent, we can do the same thing with our prep.
We're on the right over here, Ryan.
I know you week in, week out say this is the best whatever we've faced so far, but in Jonathan Taylor, I mean, what do you see from him? Is his reputation there on film that you're seeing?
Is it fair to say it this time? Yeah, he's everybody knows the type of player that he is, and he's done it for more than a few years now. So it's a tremendous challenge, and it's not only, with his ability as a running back, his vision, his ability to change direction, and his power speed combination, but the offensive line that he runs behind is really, really good as well. And not only them, but the tight ends. The tight ends are really big, and they'll be, the best blockers that we've seen thus far this season. So it's a huge challenge and it's not just the front, it's everybody on defense that's going to get pulled into these run fits, with various formations and the bunches and, the clusters and the scrunches and things like that. So, it's going to be a physical game. They're a real physical team.
Second row on the left, Andrew.
Coach, going into this year, you mentioned that this freshman group of KT and Mace and some of them were some of the most talented guys you had coached that were coming straight out of high school, whereas at Boise, a lot of it was kind of coaching guys up year over year. I mean, what is this recruiting sort of like when you're pitching guys not on a vision of what they can be 1, 2, 3 years down the road like you might have been in Boise? It's what can you do now when you got guys like Justin Flo and Noah Sewell who could come in and contribute right away?
Yeah, there's no question. I mean, it starts with having a plan. And to get those type of guys, you got to have a plan, and you got to show them those plans. You got to show them the vision, and they got to believe in it. And we were fortunate enough to be able to recruit some really good players, really good people that are capable of executing that plan, because that's the other part of it, too. You can have a plan, but you got to find guys that not only have ability, but have the ability to learn at the speed and rate that you need to be able to play as a true freshman. And we obviously feel really, really good about not only those players that you named, the linebackers, but a lot of the freshmen that we just signed, or the high school guys that will be freshmen. We're already moving on. I mean, that's what there are freshmen already, right? So we're already moving on to next year, and that plan's going to start to get executed here soon, as obviously the recruiting rules, once they sign, there's a period of time where you can start to send them some things.
Right here, front left, back.
Back, I guess, to those linebackers, your scouting report or on the 4 guys that you signed, I guess Navarrete, is he also a linebacker as well?
Yep, he's an edge guy. He'll be an outside linebacker. His, you can see it. He plays a lot of offense as well, and you can see his ability to run, his burst. We're really excited about that on the edge. And as we were talking about, we got to stop the run so we can get into pass rush situations, and you gotta have guys that can pass rush, and pass rush starts with get off, and he's got an elite get off the edge. His burst is really good, so we're excited about that, and obviously then developing him into an every down player, as he grows and learns. And but the linebacker class is obviously really strong. We're very fortunate as a whole staff to be able to make connections with these guys. And obviously Noah's got a brother here and's been around the program and all that, but this was specific to Noah. This was about his fit and, the things that he's going to be able to accomplish and do in his time here. And obviously, Jackson now is an unbelievable player, and he's extremely smart with unbelievable instincts. And I think as you see all these guys that can all blitz, they're read and react players, all of them, and they can blitz and obviously cover. And Justin Flo was the last addition there, and obviously it's a huge get, as all four of them are. But just again, the speed, size, and explosiveness that not only he brings, but the rest of them as well. I mean, that's what we're looking for. We're looking for runners and hitters, and I think you see that when you pop on these guys' film.
Front middle, James.
How much does that IE connection help with you and Jaden and Justin in particular? Where obviously at the camp, when you were working at the camp with Jaden, how much did you see from what you helped him with and taught him that day carried over on film this season from what you saw from him?
Yeah, and so he primarily played offense this year, but he did, there's a period of time throughout his this past season where he did play a fair amount of defense, and last year he executed a lot of spin moves in each game, and we kind of limited that down how many he was going to drop, in each game. But no, he improved his rush angles and his get off, and as well as obviously working with his coaches there at the high school and stuff. But just the ability to create relationships, not only as they visit here and unofficials and officials, but to be able to work with them at camps and get that familiarity with each other and how they learn and how we teach. That's huge. That's huge. The connection's got to be there because that's where the development comes from. So I think all the coaches did a really good job. There's a lot of coaches on this staff that have ties and connections to the IE, and obviously that's a fruitful recruiting ground now.
Second row on the left here, Andrew.
Coach, I mean, is this just kind of kid in a candy store stuff for you when you find out that on signing day, in addition to the 5-star linebacker that you already have signed, the best arguably linebacker in America is coming to your team? I mean, that to go along with an entire secondary that might be coming back, the best defensive player in last year's recruiting class is there. I mean, does it excite you just like when these things kind of come in and you really get to realize the breadth of talent that, you get to coach and you get to guide each year?
Well, I think that's why, not only the players, but the coaches and the staff and everybody that's involved in this organization. That's why, you come to Oregon. The people you're going to get to be around, not only elite players, but elite coaches. And everybody has a responsibility and role in this facility. There's 6 levels of it. There's a lot of people in here, and everybody's really, really good at their job. And so it takes all of us put together, to develop these guys. And, we're really fortunate. Again, there are not only people here that are really good at their responsibilities, but really good people. And that's where the connection and the draw is. And obviously those connections are what it takes to develop these young guys as well. It's really, really hard. It's not an easy process by any means, but we're very excited about the class we have coming in, the D linemen coming in, and our, their size, length, speed, and their production on the field is really, really high. So we're excited about all the levels, the front, the linebackers, the DBs, and now we got to gel them all together too. It's about getting them ingrained in the culture and making sure that this class is bonding. When these young men show up on campus here, they've got to have bonds already created, and so that we can jump in and get to work, and so we can get moving quickly.
Right, Ryan.
Obviously, Panay's cleaning up on the award circuit, and Kayvon ended up being the Pac-12 Freshman Defensive Player of the Year. What's it like in practice when those two go at it, and how much do you think that helps both of them, reach their potential?
Yeah, there's no question. I think iron sharpens iron. That's one thing we talk about all the time. And you can't show up to practice here, and go half speed. Otherwise, you're going to get exposed. So the competition breeds our hard work. You got to show up and be ready to work every single day. It's the amount of talented players we have, which is good. And obviously they do. They make each other better, and they work at it too. They'll. It gets feisty out there at times, but they love each other and take care of each other as well, and they'll coach each other and love each other up when one of them gets each other, and not just those two in general, but they work to help each other. They really do. It's pretty cool to see.
Front left, Matt.
How much versatility does Noah Sewell bring of, I guess, just playing multiple positions? He's a very unique body type for what he can do.
We've been pledging for him to be a Wildcat running back down in the red zone, so I don't know. We'll see what happens with that. But, there's a couple of these guys that, the offense could throw over there and they could do some things. But, Noah's football IQ is off the charts. And the ability to have football, conversations with him about what he's doing at his high school and the things, and to be able to watch him practice and lead his defense and the way he communicates before the snap and the way he leads his team, it's remarkable now. And those are the traits that we look for in all the guys that we recruit. The ability to communicate is huge. If we're not all on the same page, then it's not going to happen. So, the traits you want to see and that you would hope to emphasize and hang your hat on, you got to recruit those.
Right middle here, Warren.
From as a former player and now a DC, I'd like to get your perspective on those two players, on Noah and Justin. Have you ever seen players like that, let alone two, come to a single university? Just in your perspective, have you ever seen that before?
I obviously have never been a part of something like that, but hopefully we can continue to, make situations like this happen. They're unique in their own ways. Obviously, they're both extremely talented, as Jackson is. I mean, Jackson in his own right is extremely, extremely talented, and there's a lot of similarities with him, but yeah, they're two very highly talented recruits that are extremely skilled and love the game and work really, really hard. They're very passionate, and that's another thing that we're always looking for. How much do these guys love the game? And I think when you turn on the game and watch not only these two, but the class, you watch the way they play, and we're looking for guys that want to lead too, not only by how they play, but again, how they communicate, how they work off the field. There's a lot of things that go into it, and we want to continue to build our culture here, and we feel like those guys with their certain traits are going to be able to help us do that as well.
Second row middle, Ashley.
You only had 1 year really with Marcus Arroyo. What's kind of your relationship with him, and what's your message to him as he moves on to his next endeavor?
Yeah, it's a new adventure for him and his family. We're all fired up for him. That's awesome. And it's obviously in this profession, it's always exciting to see guys you work with get an opportunity to become head coaches. And it's been great working with him. I've learned a lot from him in the year's time. Coach is awesome about working together with the coordinators, and so we spend time planning things out together. And he was always obviously very awesome to work with and plan the things out, the fall camps, and handling the scripts when we're going against each other in fall camp and spring. It's like really good to work with someone that we're trying to make each other, just much like we were talking about with the players, right? Like we're trying to help them get better. They're trying to help us get better. And that's always a great working relationship. So, obviously we're bummed to see him go, but excited for him too and his new adventure for him and his family.
Right middle, James.
You can't answer for how Brady and Bryson were used a year ago, Andy, but when you get here in the spring and it's a crash course of installing all those things at the time,
Yeah.
When you got around to watching tape from last year and analyzing what you saw there combined with what you're seeing in the spring, when did you identify that they could be used in the roles you have them and did you ever really foresee the level of excelling that they've had the second half of this season? You could argue they're maybe the second and third best defensive players on this unit. So did you ever see that level from them going back in March and April?
All the way back to March and April, I will say this, the two things as you ask that question that stick out to me about those two young men is those guys' willingness. And we go back to it again, the care factor to learn and to give me more, help me. What can I do? What can I learn? That's something that hasn't fallen off. Obviously, they've progressed and they've developed throughout the course of the year, as well as a lot of other guys. You think as we're traveling around recruiting last week and having film on the iPad and flying, you have the ability to watch a lot of things and just kind of go back, and you see how much more comfortable guys are obviously now here at the end of the season opposed to the first quarter of the season, and it's remarkable, and it speaks to the type of program the coach is leading here in terms of learning and development and the emphasis we put on that. And even going down here into the last stretch, as we prepare for this game, there are so many areas that we've emphasized in the last week of the last couple of days of practice to get better at. There's plenty of room, and we're going to have to get better at obviously to compete here with this team in the Rose Bowl.
Second row left, Andrew.
And it's it's a little bit different than the Red Box Bowl or the Vegas Bowl, where you enter the dead period and then you're kind of right there planning for that bowl game. I mean, what is this dead period, at least this next 3-4 days, going to be for you personally? Just being able to maybe take a little bit of a breather and maybe look at things from 30,000, or are you just going to go right straight into film and there won't be any break here?
There hasn't been a breather for a little while. There's a lot that goes into it even before, we've been looking at Wisconsin for the past week and things like that. But obviously even before that, we were focused on our last game and the things that we've got to do to clean ourselves up from that game, as well as, already starting some self-scout from the season. And, obviously that helps you coming into the bowl game. You got to know what you look like. You got to know what the opponent's looking at and how they view you and things like that. And then obviously jumping into the Wisconsin film and looking at, what they do, what they excel at, and the things that we're going to, have to do well to compete. And obviously the fundamentals and techniques that are going to be pertinent to the game plan and those things. And so there's been a ton of film study and going on, as well as trying to lock up the class. And again, coach leads the charge, coach works, coach goes, and we're running right behind him. When I think he said when we started this season way back in fall camp, we get a break in the next decade. So that hasn't hit yet. We got a little bit before that hits, so we're still going.
2 or 3 more. Warren right here. Front.
Marcus, Andy, with success comes great attention, and we've seen that with Coach Arroyo now going to UNLV. I'm just curious what your thoughts are about being a head coach. I don't know if you've been contacted. Coach Cristobal said the staff loves it here at Oregon. What are your thoughts generally about that situation?
You know what? First off, I never thought I was going to be a coach, so that kind of tells you that. But I enjoy the X's and O's part and the recruiting part of this thing, and that's what I thoroughly enjoy. I don't mind watching the film. I love watching the film. I get going, and it's hard to put the remote down, but those are the things that excite me right now. I can never speak to any opportunities or whatever that are out there in the future, because I'm not a guy that's ever looking to chase things or do like that. I'm always focused on the task at hand right now, and that's how I've gotten to be able to be a part of this, this program here. So I'll never fall off of that. If a situation ever pops up, that is right for my family and myself, then, obviously you always got to look into that stuff. But right now with the guys that we just signed and we got coming in, the guys that are coming back, I mean, this in the 6 floors of people that work here that we get to be around every day, and, what we get to be a part of here, this is it's a hard place to leave now. And, my wife has just gotten settled at our house, and she doesn't want to go anywhere. So, and I don't blame her. This community has been great to our family too. That's the other part. It's just not about coaching football, and everything that, is shaped up here, and the way we've been able to ingrain ourselves into this community and this university. It's not cliche, but we're blessed. It doesn't happen this way all the time. It doesn't. So, when you're in a situation like this right here, you gotta take as good a care of it as you can and focus on what you're doing every day, and your mind can't wander other places.
Front left, Matt.
Jordan and Popo play positions where statistically they don't get a lot of stats, and people gravitate towards stats. Can you maybe just explain their importance for this defense and the overall success that they've had, and
huge
their growth from start to beginning?
You're 100% right. The defense starts with those guys. I mean, if they aren't who they are, and those two teach each other and push each other, and they both, and we're watching a ton of film, and it wasn't Joe, it wasn't me, it was actually Ken yesterday. It was like, wow, man, these guys' footwork and the way they're working and all this stuff, it looks totally different. Their development and where they're growing. But you're right. I mean, they don't, just naturally at that position. But it all starts with those guys, the way they work, the way they set the tone, inside there. And it's not, there is no hiding. There isn't a play where, you're just jogging to the ball or sprinting to the ball. I mean, you're in a fist fight every play. And obviously with the team we're playing, has a really good O-line, and the center is, he's won some awards too. And so the test is sitting right in front of us.
Last question, front middle here, James.
Linebackers deserve a lot of attention, Andy, but the D-line is really being reshaped over this past year, and the 4 or 5 guys you got then, and now 5 if you include Jaden in that group as an edge guy. Can you speak to just how much that room is about to change, where I'm sure you hope somebody like Jordan comes back and KT's back, but that you have 3 redshirting freshmen in the interior, and now you're adding 4 more guys along that line, just what that group starts to look like going forward?
Yeah, so there's no question. It always starts up front. And obviously last year we did a really good job recruiting the young men that are here that are playing right now. And there's a few of them too that are very capable of playing right now. Obviously we've got some older guys that have done an unbelievable job and really helped the young guys grow too. Drayton, Austin, and obviously Jordan is a junior and has done a great job helping these guys. And the young guys in practice, they're night and day from when they started back in August. And Dorless obviously plays and is going, but we've got some other young D linemen too that are going to be excellent players here. And then you add in the guys that we signed in this class that we feel like everybody that we sign, we recruit them, we evaluate them, we look at them as their work ethic, their character, and their ability obviously on the field, and we're always trying to make ourselves better. So we feel really good about the 4D linemen that we signed, and obviously, yeah, like you said, Jaden is an edge guy to provide some edge pass rush and some flexibility, the ability to rush, drop, and do different things with him as well as an athlete in space.